Welcome back, everybody, to the Military Retirement Podcast. So imagine leaving everything you've known, the structure, the camaraderie, the very identity of a soldier, stepping into a world where none of those rules apply. Many of us veterans feel lost coming from the military transition to civilian life. But today, our guest, Betty Gonzalez, didn't just find her way, she conquered a completely new battlefield, the cutthroat world of South Florida real estate. How did a retired Army veteran pivot from serving her country to becoming a top 10 agent in South Florida? And what lessons can we take from her journey? So no further ado, let me bring Betty to the stage. Welcome,
Hey,
Betty.
good morning, Jen. Thank you so much. Thank you for the introduction and thank you for having me on today. I really appreciate that.
Yeah. Trying a little new thing with the intro and see how it works out and see if people resonate with it or not. We'll see how it goes. It's all about testing. It's all testing, constantly
Well, it
testing.
was awesome, and you nail it.
Thank you. Yeah, and I'm sure we'll get into this, but I feel like the going from military to civilian life, it's also a bunch of testing things because you don't know what's on the other side of wearing the uniform. But what I do want to do is go back to the beginnings of when you first came in the military. If you could just give me a quick little synopsis of where you were and what kind of mindset you were in when you decided to pull the trigger and say, okay, I'm going to go join the military.
Well, John, I mean, and many people think this is funny, but the truth is, I had no idea about the military. I have no clue. I was being the first person in my mother's side and father's side to ever join the military, and it still is till this day. Actually, no, I just had a long distance cousin that joined the Air Force, but this
Okay.
was the first. And I first heard of the military because I was going to a college here. It's called Miami-Dade Community College. And I was in the line to get financial aid. And my recruiter approached
Nice.
me and said, hey, do you know the military pays for your education? And at that time, for the people that don't know, I'm in Miami. And in Miami, if you've never been to Miami, it's literally like you're in a Hispanic country. Everybody
Okay.
speaks Spanish. The teachers, even the Caucasian American English speaking people, they speak Spanish. So it's really hard for you to learn how to speak it. So I know how to read it, write it, take the test, the ASVAB, all of this, but I couldn't speak it, John. And I asked my recruiter, he was Sergeant Garcia at the time, and I was like, I only have one question. Would I be able to speak English? Would I learn it? He's like, for sure. And I was like, you don't have to recruit me. I mean, what do I need to do? And that's why I joined. I swear to God. And sure
So,
enough, 3 months in the military in AIT, I was having conversations with people.
wow.
And
So
I
most
remember
people join for the educational benefits after they get out, and you joined for the language learning from the
for the
very
education while
beginning.
I was in.
Nice,
That was
nice.
my motivation. And then after I was in, I fell in love with it, with the team, camaraderie. And I felt it was easy, to tell you the truth. It came easy for me because I knew that I wasn't alone on anything. Although you do succeed alone. Like when I
Mhm.
joined in back in 1997, it's be all you can be. You do have to excel individually, which you had the room to
Yep.
do that. But you don't do anything by yourself. So I really do love that. And that's one of the things that I still miss till this day after my retirement. So yeah, I joined out of Miami in 1997, June 2nd, 1997, and I retired June 2019 from Alabama, Fort Rucker, Alabama. And
Fort
then I
Rucker,
transitioned
my
in
favorite place.
2020. It was a good place to transition out because it was a little bit more laid back for a regular unit.
Mm.
Not if you were, one of those people that walk, but that's another thing. But yeah, so I transitioned, and then in 2020, my husband and I, we decided to come here to South Florida, and then we did it right in the middle of the pandemic. I mean, we didn't plan it like that. It just happened
Right.
that this happened in the middle of us moving here.
So let's
I mean,
kind of break that down a little bit.
yes, go ahead. Sorry.
As far as yeah, I'm sorry, there might be a little slight delay. As far as you getting out during, because I actually was doing transition through the pandemic as well, and like trying to get my BDD process done. It was just everything was extra complicated. But you didn't have to move too far, I guess, because from Alabama to South Florida is not that big of a jump. But during the pandemic, And when everything was shut down and it was really hectic for me. And I know it's probably more hectic for you because that was the beginning of the pandemic. How was that transition mentally? And what kind of things did you try to get in place before you started to make that move? Or was there any like pre-planning or anything like that?
Yes, John. So, okay. So like I said, I retired 2019, right? April. I did I took my leave, the leave that you have accumulated. Officially was June, but because I have all this leave accumulation, this vacation time, I stopped working around April, and that's when I did my ceremony, right? So that's the beginning of 2019. But at the end of 2018, my husband and I, we decided we're just going to stay here. Alabama has been great for us, and we bought a house December 2018. John, 4 months later, right? Or 5 months later, when I'm retiring, my husband says, "So why are we staying here again? We're no longer in the military. You don't have to stay in Rucker, Alabama Enterprise. That's one of the
Right.
cities there." And
Yeah.
and I was like, but I asked you, and we bought this house. So, but he decided he wanted to move. He's like, well, he's a military brat, and then he was following me as a spouse because he did 12, but I did 22. And he's like, well, we don't have to any longer stay in a place because someone else told us. So he decided he wanted to go to South Florida. He was looking for jobs. And when you get out of the military move you. Well, but we have already used our move to move to the new house that we bought in 2018.
Okay.
So we didn't have that anymore. Even though Florida is my hometown where I joined out of.
Home record.
So thank you. So we did. So we had to move ourselves, and we did some planning. So what we did was my husband, he came first with a few items, big items, and we put it in storage. And then when we came back, let me go back. He found a job in one of the bases here is called Southcom, and his starting day was March 1st. So he left February 28th. And that's when March 11th, everything closed. And the reason he did that, he came up front is to get everything settled. And then I needed to wait for the kids to finish school in May. So anyway, so it was a little scary because I was in Alabama, then he was here. They closed the state. You couldn't come in or out. And then the DOD, I don't know if you remember that time, people couldn't really transition. And it was a little scary because he couldn't find any rental. We were going to buy a house. We were going to close March 18th. But because everything happened, I was like, I don't know what's going to happen. So we decided to not close on that house. We canceled like 3 days prior. And they said, let's rent. Let's see what's going to happen. And he couldn't find any rentals. People wouldn't answer the phone. They wouldn't come out. It was crazy. He was a little scared. So because he was staying in an Airbnb and he had to come in and out, and he didn't know when they were going to tell him you had to stop coming because the laptop was not ready for him to work from the house. So he had to come in the office. So it was really scary. But then we made it happen. And then he came back after they opened the state back in May. And my kids got out of school and we packed everything. So what we did was we packed the big items and the small, it was like in sections. I even have videos of recordings and pictures of how we did it. I think I should do a video for people to know how to do it. It was really smooth actually. and then we wrapped everything up, and then we pay somebody like $500 to help us upload the big items. And then in Alabama, and then come over here and then help us download it as well. And everything was really smooth, actually. We just unpack, we label everything, bathrooms, kitchen, kind of like the military taught us to do because we've done it many times. So that's how we did it. And it wasn't that expensive once it was done. But when I came here, then I decided, okay, I'm going to become the real estate agent because I always wanted to be in the real estate because we own a few properties. We're landlords. Right now, we own 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 properties that are rented. 1 in Alabama and 3 in Texas, and 1 that we just recently purchased in Dominican Republic. and that one is rented as well. So because I've always been in it, I was like, you know what? I want to reinvent myself. I don't want to do what a lot of military people do. They come to work for the government after they got out of the army, or a contractor. And although that's okay, but it feels really, really safe because you're
Yep.
used to that, right? You come back to the base, or you're dealing with the same kind of people, retirees or people that work for the federal government. But I was like, I want to do something different. I want to do something that I choose to do, and that I have passion for, that I also help. And the reason I did that, it was because not only I understand it, I also wanted to help people in the military or retirees or veterans in South Florida, because a lot of people don't understand the VA. And a lot of veterans get rejected because of that. And I was like, I'm in a position to help them out, to not only help the veterans, but also educate the other agents that do not understand it, in order for them to accept the offers for the veterans on this side. I had to put 12 offers, and a lot of them got rejected because they would not understand it. So I went through that myself. So that's one of the reasons why I decided real estate. And plus, real estate, if a lot of people don't know, it sounds very lucrative, but it's a lot of hard work. And it's not as soon as you come in, people just call you. It's a business like anything else, and you have to work really hard at it. And you don't get paid until you actually get a closing. But because of this, a lot of people have what they call commission breath, right? So they're really working, and they're like desperate. And I was in a position as a retiree that I don't have to do that, because I don't need that paycheck to be able to feed my family or have a roof over, my head. So I was like, I'll be able to help people without that stress, because people can feel that. So I could really genuinely help them. So that's where I came from, in that background. And then I wanted to reinvent myself coming out of the military, not doing, government work, because I could have very well done it since I'm a logistician. So,
Yep.
yeah.
So I just have a question for you. When you were talking about reinventing yourself, and sorry, I'm doing math in the background. Coming from the background of owning 5 properties, being a landlord for 5 properties, managing 5 properties, because that in itself is a whole nother type of job, right? I'm curious why you chose real estate agent versus just going straight into real estate investing, or partnering with people on maybe apartments or something like that.
That's a good that's a good question, because I have a husband and he doesn't have
Okay.
the risks. He's not as risky as I am. So he likes to do stuff by himself. So in order for me to do that, I wanted to come in a way to where I'm in a new area, and what a better way to know the market, to actually be in it, helping other people. And you are helping, and you could still earn while you help. And then I wanted to build my capital in that way, to then I could then later reinvest in buying more properties without making my husband feel too nervous about the investment. So that's
Okay.
why.
That makes sense. Yeah, so I was just reading an article actually this morning, published from Newsweek, I guess it is. I could probably bring the article up, but I won't. I'll spare everybody the details. Basically, the VA announcing $800 million worth of money put towards homeless veterans and helping homeless veterans, and they're doing that in the form of grants and funding from these certain organizations that do homelessness. But as I went down the bottom of the article, I caught an interesting statistic about VA loans specifically, and it said something to the effect of, let me see if I can find it. It's over a couple million VA loans that have been administered over the course of the whole VA loan program being established. I know when I did my VA loan at one point while I was still on active duty, it was an exercise in dexterity, to say the least, because I had to figure out, first of all, how to set up the loan, go find the bank, talk to the people, get the house, figure out what the terms were for the house. And then at the end of all that, I ended up going back and forth with the VA. I was in Augusta, Georgia, which is right down the street from Atlanta, a couple hours away. And I was going back and forth with the VA folks in Atlanta who were basically doing all the administrative paperwork for the loan. And they were like, look, the property is zoned as commercial and blah, blah, blah. And we won't be able to give you the loan. And I was like, hold on a second. This property is in the middle of a neighborhood. Like, how does it even matter? The previous owner had a couple businesses run out of the house, so they had it zoned for a specific purpose. But in the state of Georgia, that really didn't matter too much. It was kind of irrelevant after the fact. But I had to do digging. I had to go through all kinds of tax documents and go through the MLS and pull up information on the deeds and all that stuff that I had to pull up, and then like get drawings of the house, the layout of the house, and pictures and stuff, and send it to the VA and have them look through all that paperwork, basically the due diligence of buying a house either way. And at the end of the day, they were like, okay, cool, we'll give you the loan. I don't know how much you have experienced that in the Miami area. I mean, the Miami area is I've been there once, stayed for a few weeks. It's got a very robust downtown, and then it's got a lot of little pockets of residential areas. And I'm not sure the market that you're actually in that area, but I'm wondering how much of that struggle do you have to deal with when trying to, if you're processing VA loans for people or trying to help people along with VA loans? Do you ever run into any of that? Any tips, tricks for any of that?
Well, Jen, the main thing that people run into, it's the simplest of the thing. It's just that, but the mere fact that it is a VA loan, and there's not a lot of, like, this is not a big base where people are familiar with the soldiers. So they're not familiar with how the VA loan works, because it's 100% finance. They believe that you're not going to be able to afford to pay the monthly payments. And they, even though it's not it's not a fact, like you cannot put a finger, they do discriminate against the loan, period. Whether you just want to buy a house, not even in mentioning that it's in a different zoning or anything like that. Because if it is commercial, it has to be 5 units or more to be considered commercial.
Right.
You can buy 4 units and it's still considered to be a regular single family. So you wouldn't have any problem with that. I have not run into the situation that you mentioned per se, but what happened is I did have 2 times where I have to really, 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 really sell it to the other agent and even the seller. Like, I've gone through, look at the properties, and my clients have been overseas. And while I'm there, the owner asked me questions, even though their agent were there, and I was kind enough to talk and explain it, because they said, so what does that mean, a VA loan? And I was like, it is a loan program, just like any other program. The difference is that this one is geared towards the military, members of the United States. And what it does is, it's like a way of the government saying, thank you for your service. We know you move so many times and it's hard for you to collect certain amount of money to be able to put a down payment and closing costs. So they made it easier, but also they made it financial friendly, because they secure 25% of the loan should the soldier go default on it. Which gives them more of a cushion, kind of like a 20% down. Not only they feel like they have a 20% down, the financial institutions, the VA guarantees 25% of that. Plus, most soldiers, they're the least amount of percentage of people that actually default on loans in the US. So if you compare by the regular population. So you have to explain this to the consumers, the other agents, and the soldiers themselves that don't know about it. So there's some misconceptions and myths about that the loan expires, that they can only use it once. Many things that you cannot buy a second home if you have one. You can buy 2 homes with the same VA loan, as long as you don't use your whole entitlement. So those are the issues that I run into, and that I find myself educating agents as well as sellers, and as well as the members themselves.
So let's do this real quick, if you're game for it. If you could give like a 5 or a 10-minute speech to, say, I don't know, people in the TAP program who are doing that week-long TAP process to get out of the military, whether they're retiring or they're getting out after a few years, and they brought you in as a guest speaker and they gave you 10 minutes and they said, hey, we want you to come in and talk to these folks about everything VA loan related. What are some of the key points that you would point out to them as far as like things like you can purchase properties that have 4 units on them, you can use your VA loan, things like that? What would be your like 10-minute spiel for that?
No, sure, John. So if you're coming in transition out of the military, this is some of the things that I've seen myself, even members that have been in the Army for 20 years, even more, and even couples have never used their VA loans because they were too afraid to use it because they were going to move per se. Let's say that you're not even get out of the military. Use your entitlements. They're there for a reason. And only know, this is the advice that I will give you. If you're still in the service, let's say, and you want to buy a house, but you're afraid that you are going to be moving in the next maybe year or 2 or so, just make sure that whatever you do buy, it's less, the monthly payment is less than the BAH of the area for the people that can afford, let's say, buy a 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, which you want it to be at an E6 level, because that's when they start having family members, right? So you want to make sure that you can have a place that not only you can live in it while you're there and get equity, but if you have to leave too soon and you're not going to have the equity right before you move, then that if you're going to rent it, you can start building your legacy. And then later on, if you do decide to maybe come back, you can move into your property or have it rented for somebody. That the caveat to that is make sure that you have a good property management to take care of that property when you're gone. Try not to do it yourself. Try to make sure that you do all the numbers, that it makes sense, that if you do rent it and you pay the property management on top of that, that you have wiggle room in what you get paid for the monthly payments, and make sure it's no more than the BAH of the area. That is if you're still in. If you get out, the same thing. Look at the monthly payments that you will pay, because a lot of people, they say, I don't want to have a commitment. I don't want to have a mortgage. Well, I'm going to tell you something. You are paying a mortgage, whether it's your own or not. You're paying somebody's mortgage.
Somebody else.
So just think about it. It's like, who mortgage do you want to pay? Your landlord's mortgage or your own? Like right now, I know in my properties, they're paying my mortgages of my houses right now. So do you want to be the person receiving the equity, or do you want your landlord to get the equity? But the same thing that I say to the person that's still in the military, make sure that you can afford the monthly payments. And also believe that in order for you to move to your dream house, you have to start small. Think of it, the people are afraid because they've never used it, right? So your entitlement allows you to buy a property with no money down. And if you have the right agent, they can help you to pay your closing costs, including your agent's commission. So my advice right now at this moment, please listen and hear me out very well. The right now, what you need to use is the new builders, because the new builders, they have overbuilt right now, and because the houses are still very expensive and the interest rate is still high, then people are on the sidelines. But what are they doing? When there's oversupply, then the consumers win. So as a veteran, you don't have to put any money down because you're 100% covered for that of the VA. And then they're offering you to pay your closing costs, and a lot of them are helping you to buy down the interest rate, and they're covering your commissions to pay your agent. So you can literally come into a new house with only the appraisal money and the inspection to make sure that the house appraises and is good at the inspection. So if you can afford the monthly payments, trust me, if no one else understands the VA loan, the constructions, they do understand the VA loan because they know that the government backs that loan. So it doesn't matter where you're at in the country. If you can have your VA loan do that. Also, your VA loan does not expire. A lot of people think, oh, but I've been out for 20 years. It doesn't matter. If you were discharged, honorably discharged, then yes, you can use your VA loan. But let's say that you did one term honorably discharged, for example. Let's say that you did 4 years or even 6 years and you did well, and then you re-enlisted and something happened. that it wasn't 100% honorable discharge. It might be other than honorable discharge. Don't disqualify yourself because you did one term, your first term. Remember, every time you enlist or you re-enlist, you have one that discharges you honorably. That one counts, guys. Okay, so make sure that you talk to a VA lender that specializes on this to make sure that you could potentially still have your entitlements to buy a VA loan. So don't disqualify yourself. The biggest thing that I see is people assume that they know, and because they think that they know, they disqualify yourself. Don't be that person. Go through that process and find out. Because right now in South Florida, in order for you to get a rental, you have to pay 3 months. First month, and last month, and a down and a deposit, and very easily you'll be 12,000, 15,000 out of pocket, where you could be using that for your closing cost if it's a resale, because you have no money to do down payment. So you need to think about all of these monies, because don't let fear dictate. Also, you can use your loan more than once. For example, I have my loan tied to a property in Alabama that I bought for $275,000, but I didn't use my full entitlement. Before it was 400, I think it was 469 something for counties. Now it's up to, I don't know, it's a ridiculous amount. I should have got it. I didn't know you were going to ask me to do this. I'll
get it for you. Don't worry. Keep talking. I'll get it for you.
So if you just subtract that 275, I still have like around 500,000 of entitlement, something like this, to use in another property. So all you need to do is talk to your lender. Now, you want this lender to be very savvy with the VA loan, so they understand what to look for and tell you exactly how much you qualify for in the second purchase. But then let's say that you bought 2 houses and then you sold those 2 houses. Well, now you back to your entitlement, back to 100%. You back to be able to use it again. Because my VA loan, that was my 3rd time using it. I used it at first to buy a house in North Carolina when I was 25. Then I sold it. Then my entitlement came back to me. Then I bought another property here in Florida in 2015. In 2017, we sold. 2018, we sold it. I got all of my entitlement back. And then we bought that one in Alabama right before I retired. I still have that property. It's still there, but the whole thing is not tied up to the property. Also, there's no limits on the loan that you can get, so as long as you can make the payments. What do you mean by that, Betty? Let's say that the max for the county is like 700 and something. I don't remember right now what it is, John. I'm sorry. But whatever the max is, it doesn't have to be your max. There you go. Thank you. Your max is 700. There you go. So your max
straight from the VA website.
There you go. And they use 700,000. So let's say that your max, that you have another job, that you have a second job, or that you have a business that you retired, and now you have an income of, I don't know, that you can qualify to purchase a $1 million, $1.5 million house. You can still use your VA loan. And people be like, but if you had that much money, why would you don't put any money down payment? It's like, why? Because you don't have a PMI to pay on a VA loan. Why use your money when you can go and get $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 that you would have put in a down payment? You can go ahead and reinvest in something else. Why? Or buy another property if it is like an investment property. But if it's your own property, you don't have to put that money down, because not only the VA loan, you don't pay a PMI. You also, most of the time, your APR is usually lower than the regular conventional loans, and even FHAs a lot of times. So that's why people even buy $1 million houses still use the VA loans. So what I say to the audience, John, is don't limit yourself. Go out there, make sure that if you're still in, that you don't rent, that you don't have a mortgage more than the VA age, or your the rental property of a 3-2 in that area, that you have cushion for property management, and it's still a little bit just in case you have to do maintenance in the property, you don't come out of pocket, and that you have a good property manager, that if you're out, to know that your VA loan does not expire. Even if you get out of other than honorable discharge, make sure that if you had a first full term, that one potentially counts because you did one honorably. So ask the right lender. Now, not all the lenders that says VA had your best interest. They just have the biggest platforms because they know it's for sure. And I don't know what else. I think I'm missing some things, John, but I am such an advocate of this. Just know that you think you're not paying a mortgage, but yes, you are. You might just not be paying yours.
That's right. Yeah, that was well said. You covered a lot of the really good points. I'm glad you hit on that with the using the VA multiple times, the VA loan multiple times, because it's something, yeah, for sure, people don't think about. The thing that's really struck me is looking back on your very first term to see if that was an honorable discharge, even if you got an other honorable later on down the line. That's interesting. And I wonder if that plays into all of the VA benefits or if it's just for the VA home loan benefits, but that's another topic, I guess.
All of your benefits. Because if you only did 4 years, you still have your Montgomery jail bill or your 9/11, whatever that is that you had. So everything plays, because that's why it's so important that when you sign the first one, how when you're reenlisting, you have the certificate that you're reenlisting, and then you have the honorable discharge. Just go look back at that. A lot of people think it doesn't count, but I used to be a retention NCO when I was an NCO, and that was a big thing for me to let them know. It's like, this matters. A lot of people think it doesn't matter. It matters. There's a reason why they honorable discharging from that enlistment and then to a new contract. Because if you only did 4 years, you're entitled to your V8 and your Montgomery jail bill.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I wanna dig into the time shortly after, and when I say shortly after, I mean maybe about a year, could be 18 months, could be 6 months after leaving the military and starting off down that career path of becoming a real estate agent. Starting back into the workforce and civilian life. Did you hit any anxiety, any kind of difficulties along the way mentally, like any fears that you had, anything that you felt or experienced leading up to starting off in your civilian life after you got out of the military?
John, this is interesting because you said 6 months, a year, 18 months. To me, I think this is happening now, 6 years later. I just want to make sure that people know that it's not as soon as you think it is, or it could be, but not necessarily. The first 6 months, I was too busy moving and transitioning, not only out of the military, but also out of the state. And then COVID happened. So everybody kind of felt like they were in the same boat, kind of like we're in the house. We don't know what's going on. So I don't know if that didn't let me know that it was just the military that I was feeling anxious about. But it could have been, right? At first, it was really good because I decided to do real estate. So I immersed myself into learning real estate, going to get my license online. Once I was here, I was learning in Alabama, but since I already knew I was coming to Florida, I didn't want to get my license there because you had to get your license in a different state. So once I waited until I was here, and then I started going to classes online. So that was exciting to me. It was something to do. But we're still under COVID. I got my license at the end of October or September, something like that, of 2020. But then I was trying to buy my own house. And then that was a whole ordeal because it was the house frenzy down South Florida. Everybody was moving down here. Everything was going through the roof. Like I said, it took us 12 tries to get the house that we're in right now. And people would just not even entertain the VA loan, or they just flat out outbid whatever the max was that we could put on the house. But fast forward to now, what I found is that I have been trying to find my tribe. Like I've been trying to find community. And in the real estate world, it's you kind of work solo, right? So you're on your own business. You are the marketer. You are the person that's showing the houses. You are the person that's doing the paperwork. You're doing everything, which was fine. So I was in one of the brokerages that's called EXP, that you do everything online, right? So that's awesome, which I still see the value in it. But I was like, you know what? I'm feeling a little isolated. So I decided to join a team because the name says it, it's a team. So because I'm looking for community, so I'm excited to go in there. John, to my, I'm very surprised. It's a team, but it's not a team. So I'm trying to contribute and I'm trying to have many ideas. And I was like, let's do podcasts, let's do I don't know, social media, let's pay ads. I could do this. But even though they say they want you to do this, I've noticed that I think they like the idea of you doing it, but they don't want you to come up with the idea yourself. I don't know how to explain it. It's been a little bit disappointing. And I feel a little sad at times. Like I feel like I haven't found my tribe as much as I want to. And I want to give this to your audience. So no, let me go back. You're in the military. As you're in the military, you're following, you're learning how to follow, and you're learning how to lead at the same time. You know how to follow, you know how to lead. You know how to follow, you know how to lead. Eventually, you become more of a leading. You're still following because you always have somebody higher. Nobody is ever the highest in the military. But you come to become, if people are familiar with the Army and one officer, so Chief One Officer 3, like you yourself, John, and myself. So that means that you have experience in the field and you're so deep into this field and you know so much. So you work yourself up to this level and then you come out. You prepare yourself to be this subject matter expert and now what? What do I do with all of this? What do I do with all of this information that I have and all of these ideas? I know how to build a team. I know how to make people to do something that they themselves maybe wouldn't wanted to do it, because as a leader, you have to learn to motivate, to guide and to get them to do something that they wouldn't do on their own, right? And that's been contemplating a lot about this. And I was like, wow, they built us to learn to do all of this, to prepare to be this person. And then this person dies. This person, as you know it, died. When you get out of the military, just know that you're going to mourn a person, and that is your own person. You yourself died as you knew it. But your knowledge does not die. Your essence does not die. And in these rooms that I come in, I realize that I have so much to give. But in order for me to fit in, I had to shrink. I had to shrink my knowledge, my understanding, my team building. And sometimes this is a hard pill to swallow, because some people will not know how to understand it. They don't know how to get you or accept you. And many times they misunderstand that you're trying to either outshine them, which is not, or they see you as a threat, which you don't. What you're seeking is acceptance, you're seeking camaraderie, and you want to contribute. But what they see is a threat, and they see is some sort of insecurity themselves, and they see you as you want to take their spot, their place. I'm telling you something, John. I don't want to be in charge of anything or anybody right now. I just want to help people to do where they want to go in the next phase of life, because it's tiring to be in charge, right? It's something good, but I didn't want to do that. I just wanted to come be in charge of myself. What do I need to do to help John from point A to point B? And once you're there, I was like, yeah, and then fulfill me. But you come to these places because real estate, it could be cutthroat. Like you said in your intro, in cutthroat here in South Florida. But I don't want to do that. I just want to help people. And when I come with my ideas, I think people think I want their job or their position, or maybe I don't want to do that. And I think as a soldier, just know that you're gonna feel this way, and it's not your fault. You just have too much information. You've been leading, and you see other people, and you just want to help. Don't think that you're not good enough. Don't think that you're weird. Just know that you're too qualified sometimes when you enter to these rooms, and you just have to find yourself and think about it. Which rooms should I go where I can actually expand and grow and help them grow? And if you find yourself that you have to shrink in a place, it's going to take too much mental uh, from you. Just find other rooms. And that's kind of like what I wanted to say. I don't know, it might not be as positive, but it's the truth. And this is how I'm feeling that I in the stage in life that I'm in right now, transitioning from the military. And I'm doing a lot of self-reflection. Why do I feel this way? Is it me? Is it something that I'm doing wrong? And why do I feel that people are standoffish with me? It's because they're not used to that. Think about it. These are grown people that have lived a full life, and they never live and work in a team environment. So they don't know how to take you. So when you come in with all this preparation, with all this motivation, with all of these ideas, they just don't know how to react. That's it. It's not that you're doing something wrong. It's not that they don't, it's not even that they're bad people. They just don't understand you. That's all. And to tell you the truth, John, that's why I met you. I met you because I'm seeking this. I reached out to our friend Victor because I saw him in a podcast, and I was like, oh, I want to be in that podcast. He's a retiree. I want to talk. I want to talk to my people. And then he connected me with you, and we're doing this podcast. And I'm going to tell you the truth. Even trying to connect with Victor, I thought about it long, because in my Instagram handle, obviously I'm a real estate agent, and real estate agents have to connect with other people. And people reach out because people think that you have an agenda, you want something, right? And I was like, I want to talk to his podcast, but it's nothing about my real estate. It's not because I want to promote my real estate. I just want to talk to my friends. And I even had to say that. It's not about my real estate. I even felt the need to tell him this, because this is how I'm feeling lately when I'm talking to people, that they think that I have an agenda, that I want something from them. And it's not it. We just want to be friends. We just want friends. Really, we just like acting like kids right now. As you get out, I feel like I'm a kid again. Like, I want to find my friend. I don't have a friend. So I'm trying to put myself in areas where I can try to find my tribe. And I think that's what we have to do. If you stay in your house, if you stay in your head, if you stay in your thoughts, and you start feeling sorry for yourself, you can lose yourself. You're going to lose that battle. But just know that we all feel in this way. And it's okay to say you're vulnerable. It's okay to say you feel lost. It's okay to say you don't find your tribe. Because how could you not feel that when most of your adult life, that's all you did? And that's all you know. This is who you are. And this is what you know to do. It's nothing wrong with that. You just have to find that somewhere else now. It's just going to be a little harder. You have to put a little effort to it. Because every time we deployed, every time we PCS, every time we went anywhere else, we fell into our tribe. You didn't have to try, but think about it. Even within the ranks, you have your tribe. When you were a private, who were your friends? Other privates. When you were an NCO, you went to other areas, you had your NCO club. You had other NCOs. If you were a regular officer, the same thing. One officer, that's a big one. We're like a very small niche. So we're trying to find each other. Like, we found each other. You're a one officer. I found Victor. He's a one officer. I'm like, so happy, yay, because we understand our language. Like, I have my shirt. I have my hat. And it's great. Even within the military, you have that. So just imagine when you come out. So you just have to find that outside, and it's just going to be a little harder because they're not going to place you in a place where you have all of your people in one area. That's why a lot of spouses feel lost. And I tell people here, I was like, when you have a spouse, think about it. When you move to a location, you already have your tribe, you have your people, you have your job, you have your mission. They don't fall into that. We do. You come to your platoon, you already know who your boss is, who you know who's going to work for you. You know, you have all of this set in place. And once you get out, you don't have that. And unfortunately, the place that I think would be able to have this for us, it would be the VA, because everybody in that area goes there already. And I think it should be probably some sort of places where you're like, hey, this is where people do meetups. This is where people do that. But there's not an agency within the VA that does this. It's very scattered, and it's very like people have to want to do it themselves. So as transitioning from TAP, they give you the classes there, but they're not going to give you the teams and the groups wherever you're going to find them. You have to do that yourself.
Yeah, that's a lot of the trends. I mean, I've been out since 21. You've been out a couple more years than I have. and Victor's been out for a couple of years now, and at various stages of the journey. And like you said, it may not be 6 months after, it may be 6 years after or 10 years after, where you just hit this epiphany moment where you come to realize, like, oh, wow, like I've been grinding away, going to work, getting good pay, doing all the things, fixing the garden, taking care of the house. But I really haven't stopped long enough to give myself the space to actually sit down and understand, what is it that I want? Where do I want to be? Who do I want to be surrounded by? Because I mean, luckily for me, luckily and unluckily, like I didn't come out and go straight into a job. Even though I was applying, I was talking to people, I was networking, I was doing all the right things that we talk about on the podcast all the time. And lo and behold, didn't have a job for the first 3 years out. And I'm very happy that that happened, because of the fact that on the back end of that, I got all that time to sit and think. I got all that time to sit and understand what I was doing. I got that time to start building this podcast, to try to figure out what I wanted to do, who I wanted to be around. And, ultimately, now that I've got a job, like the first couple weeks in, and it's a great job, right? It's a great job. It pays good money. It puts me where I want to be. It checks all the boxes. But even after the first couple of weeks, I was like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, 3 years of not having a job and then having to go back to work. And of course, you want to make money and pay bills and all that stuff, and that's important. But I definitely know that I would much rather be doing this full time, 100%, just do this all day long, day in, day out. And I feel like there's just, you have to take a knee. We say in the Army, at least, you have to take a knee and regroup and, gather your thoughts and figure and, count the bullets and the beans and make sure everybody's got all their gear and all that stuff. You have to do that internally within yourself as an individual. You have to sit and take a knee and take accountability of all the things that you're doing. And however you do that, whether you sit down and you journal, whether you call a friend and you have a conversation over the course of a couple of weeks, however that happens to unfold, if you happen to go to the VFW or any of these organizations that you can hang out with other veterans, but being able to sit down and kind of, as you said, reflect on life, do some introspection, and try to sit down and come up with at least some big ideas of what you think is the answer, and then slowly over time working through those ideas. Because I'm sure it wasn't just like you had this epiphany and then you started doing the work and now you're on this different path. Like it takes time. It's not an immediate thing where in the military, I think we're trained to go and get it perfect or don't get it at all, right? If we didn't do it perfect, then we didn't do it right. And we do the AAR afterwards and we say, okay, cool. These are the things we did right. These are the things we did wrong. And that doesn't matter because nobody cares, because that piece of paper gets ripped off at the board and thrown away after the end. And then you go back into the meeting next week and they're talking about the same stuff. Well, we're going to go 100%. We're doing this and we're going to do it for 2027. And but in the real world, outside of the military, like there's cause and effect. There's, you show up to a meeting and you say you're going to do something and you have to do it. And if you fail at it, you have to be accountable for that. And then the military, we're accountable, but we're not, because then we move on to the next thing, or the mission changes and shifts, or we get a new president or something like that happens. I want to really, because we talked about it before we started recording, and I think this is the perfect place to kind of transition into that, is after you had this epiphany 6 years out, you've been doing real estate for a while, you've been killing it in real estate down there in Miami and the surrounding areas, and that's not an easy task. But now that you're realizing, hey, I want to find my tribe. And for those out there who don't know, if you're listening or watching, we're starting to build that tribe internally outside of the podcast. We also have a Facebook group. It's the Military Retirement Group on Facebook. We've got we're pushing up on 3,000 members, which is really incredible. We've been doing it for, I don't know, a year and a half or something like that. So we do have a nice, safe space where military members and veterans can come together. We can have conversations. We can talk about the things that are difficult. We can have jokes. We can do our dark humor. It's a really safe space and a really great community. But I want to find out, as far as what you do now that you've sat down and you've kind of made this self-assessment. Now, what's the next step for you?
I'm glad you asked, John, because this is what I wanted to talk about next. So, like you said, I got out and I didn't take that break that you took. I just like jump right in. I'm gonna learn this. I'm gonna do that. I'm going to learn how to do videos, because when you become a business owner, in this case for me, it was in the real estate business. You have to learn how to bring your own clients, which are called leads. So in order for you to do that, I was okay. What do I need to learn to do this? So I went. I paid for coaching, so I learned how to do videos. So I learned for coaching to learn how to do conversations with other people about real estate, how to sell their houses. So I want to pay to learn, to shorten my curve, right? My learning curve. So because I did so much, I didn't notice how time was going by, and I have not stopped ever since. And I learned how to do the Facebook ads, how to do ads for YouTube, for YouTube, how to try to do podcasts. Like I have all of my gear. Like if you were to be like, have the microphone and all that, you think that I knew I was going to do this podcast. So I'm trying to to learn, because I wanted to do it like a warrant officer. I wanted to learn from scratch. Like I want to come from the bottom and learn. And I want to teach and help the clients as much as I can. But I didn't. But now that I realized, okay, I learned this, I learned that. Now stop. Now I'm just doing the work. I realized that things were missing, and I felt a little bit unfulfilled. And it's because I'm missing the camaraderie portion of it, because it was really lonely, me doing it by myself. And that's when I decided to come to this team, and then realized that team is just a name in a way. And they do things, they're good. It's not that they're bad. It's nothing bad or wrong. It's just that I realized that my idea of the team is not what it is. It's something else. And so my husband and I, we have been looking into buying a purchase properties in Dominican Republic, which we just did. I just came from Dominican Republic yesterday. We closed on this house, which already came with a tenant and it's rented. So
Amazing.
Say what?
Amazing.
Oh, yes,
Congratulations.
Yes. So, but we're doing it in the same way as investors. So this is a small villa, 2 bedroom, 2 bathrooms, already rented. It's not glamorous or nothing like that. And then because I wanted to learn to know how the process works internationally. How does this work? How do you do this? And by doing this, John, I realized that there's a need for people to know, because if I go to YouTube or anywhere else, there's nobody talking about the process. Everybody that's already there has already been there, either haven't bought a house or they just know from being in there. But they don't talk about from when you have the thought and you take the steps, what steps to take, who to contact to make you feel comfortable. So I am in my next stage is I might talk to the broker and the team and let them know that I appreciate, all of the efforts. And I probably will transition to just do that, where I'm talking from my heart, from my own experience, how I'm going to help other people. And if that turns into me helping them into real estate later on down the line, maybe internationally, that will be fine. But that's not the purpose. I want to step back, and I want to take that time to find out what makes me happy, truly what makes me happy. And what makes me happy is so far helping other people and get to where they need to be without all of the red tape or uncertainty. But at this time, it doesn't have a commission behind it, because I think that's what the hesitation with people is. They think that you want something, even in real estate, which you do, because you have a work to do. But I want to just, so I even did my business plan. I opened my YouTube account and all this other stuff of what I'm going to do. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to find myself in the next stage. And I think that's what I'm leaning towards. Now that I realize that I need to find a different tribe, maybe this time I'm going to attract it rather than go search it. And kind of like what you're doing with your podcast, and you attract 3,000 people in one place. Sometimes it's easier to attract than to chase. So that's what I'm trying to do in my next stage.
Yeah, it's a two-edged sword, right? It's scary. It's scary to think. I mean, so let's just run the scenario. Like, let's say I never got picked up the job that I picked up, and I was still jobless. For one, I found a place, a location, similar to Dominican Republic, where you can go there, you can actually live there on your US dollars that you may have in savings or your retirement account or your VA benefits, if you have 100% VA benefits or even 50% VA benefits.
Mhm.
And you could actually go there and live there for way less than the price of even the smallest rental in Miami, I'm sure. Um,
For sure.
and get a nice place, and you get fresh food, and you get, a pretty decent environment, and really good people and down to earth people. So the scenario would be if I didn't pick up the job. Luckily, I've picked the place, and everything's kind of come together, myself and my wife, and the right place at the right time, and understanding where I wanted to be at and what physical environment that I'm drawn to and what makes me happy, that I could actually live here without the job. If I wanted to live here, just my military retirement and my VA benefits. So that kind of scenario, like, that's the scary part of it, right? Is giving up money or giving up. And I think the problem is, and I don't know how you guys are tackling this, but the problem seems to be, in my mind anyways, from coming out of the military, and one thing we preach heavily is, like, if you can pay off as much debt as you can pay it off before you get out of the military. That way you kind of start with a blank slate. But being able to pay off that debt and put yourself in a position where you're in control of the outcomes more than being out of control. Like you said, go and build your tribe rather than trying to hunt and search and find a tribe. You actually build it and draw people to that and create your own tribe, which is essentially what we've been doing with this as well. So I feel like that makes a whole lot of sense. And I agree, there's not a lot of information out there for people trying to buy, for US citizens or people coming from the United States trying to move outside of the United States, whether it's in the Caribbean or whether they're trying to move to Europe or trying to move somewhere else. There's a lot of information. We had a guy on the show, Tim Luffel. He's the creator of the Nomadico newsletter, which is a great newsletter. I read it all the time, and it gives you information about traveling and being an expat and being a digital nomad. And I'll probably see if I can link that show somewhere here if you're watching this after the fact. But it's very scary taking that first step, especially when it involves taking a pay cut or losing money in that first step. And that's where kind of like the faith kicks in. And I know you're in the process of getting that started. I would love to revisit this maybe a year from now, or 2 years from now, and come back and sit down and see like where it's going and how it's going. And if there's anything I can do myself, I'm sure Victor would agree as well. Anything we can do to help out with that, because that's what it's about, is helping people, trying to provide resources to people. We're not out here trying to make money selling products, even though it'd be great to sell some products. But that's not the ultimate goal.
Right. It's not the ultimate goal, but if it will lend itself to it, because people that need something would rather buy from people that they know and trust. Because
Exactly.
if there's something that they need, why not get it from you if you're already providing community and providing services and resources? Because that's what you're doing right now. And I really appreciate you, not only for inviting me, but just to do it, because I'm so happy right now talking to you. And I do want to talk about the process. So I want to tell you our thought process. So you're correct, 100% right on this, that you want to pay your debt. So my husband and I, we started thinking about this in January timeframe. That's when people started to get laid off of the government jobs that people had, and which that affected my husband. And like you said, unfortunately, we do have a paycheck that we worked for our whole entire life. And I do have my VA, and so does my husband. So what we talk about is usually it has to do revolved around money. and about the quality of life. And then when you have a spouse and you have kids, then it gets a little bit more complicated, right? Not complicated, but there's more to think about. You're just not thinking about yourself or your spouse, but now your kids. So our thought process was, okay, what do we have, and what do we need to do to get to the next stage without the stress? So we decided to pay the whatever bills we have outstanding out there, because we get into this lifestyle, and I don't know why we spend that much, but we did. So we had a lot of money out there to pay. My husband had a TSP that he realized this is just play money, because if something happened to the market, it goes with it. So this was an uncertainty with the tariffs and all this other stuff that was happening. One day he will lose 3,000, another day he will have 5. It's like that. And I was like, you know what? Let's get the money out and let's get a real asset. So we did buy this house. It was a small house, okay? 89,000. I could be transparent because it just happened. $89,000. So we wanted to buy it cash, and we calling this house the panic house. So if something were to happen, we have a place to run to really fast and get in it, right? So I'm gonna have a video about this. We bought a panic house, okay? I'm sorry. It sounds cheesy, but people, I didn't tell my family, my mother, my father, my brothers, my sister, my family member. We just did it. I went quietly. We saw 12 houses last month on the end of July. This end of August, we went to close on a house. And now we're going to sell 3 of those houses that I told you we own, the one in Alabama and 2 in Texas. And with that equity, we're planning to buy not the panic house, but the house where my kids could feel comfortable and they feel like we're back in the States, but not in the States. Because we could buy a nice house in an area that have a school all the way until 12th, because my daughter's only in 9th grade. And we tell our kids, we do want you to finish your high school here. Now, in the event something were to happen, we want to not be ready. We don't want to get ready. We don't want to react. We want to already have stuff. So what's going to happen? So for example, we're trying to get the equity of those houses and then buy one either 100% fully paid for or have a small mortgage. So I have the steps, and I'm going to I already documented, and I'm going to do a video of how we did it to buy this house 100% without finance, right? The next one might have a little finance, so I'm going to talk about that process. And whether or not we end up moving or not, the process will still be the same for everybody. But what happened is we just transfer our assets from 3 houses here to 1 they are fully paid for, 3 houses here with a mortgage to 1 they are not, with 2 there with no mortgage. And they can be rented over there as well too. So either they're rented there or rented here. We're still going to keep this one, and we're going to keep another one in Texas that will be paid for as well. So it could be from having 5 houses here, none of them paid for, to having 4 houses, 2 there and 2 here, 3 paid for, and this one still with a mortgage. But the whole point, like you said, John, is to not have any debt, to potentially have these houses paid for, and in a location where our kids can still thrive, that have enough infrastructure to where it will still be new, but it won't be too shocking for them, because the area that we chose, a lot of expat go there. So it's going to be other kids that kind of have the same as them. They can speak English, they can speak Spanish, all the languages. And that's what it is. We're hoping that they finish high school here. But if hit the fan, we have something here. So that's the thought process. And yes, and I want to document it, because I'm pretty sure other people are having, like in Miami-Dade County, which is the county that we currently own a house here. It came out that 13,000 kids did not go back to school this year. So that means that at least 13,000 families moved out of the area. And that was just in one county. So things are changing, and I'm pretty sure among those people are military, or just not people that are military, because I'm not targeting the military. I'm just targeting people moving to the Dominican Republic or any other place. So my channel is going to be living in DR guide. And the reason I put that in there, I don't want to mislead people. I just want to tell them this is the process before then the during, and then if there's an after. Because people just know the during or the after, but nobody ever heard the before.
Right.
And I want to document that because that's the scariest part, the before, in my opinion. So that's where I am, John. I'm sorry. I think I overspoke. I talked for too long.
No. You're good. You're good. I got all the time in the world. I really wish Vic was here today because we talk about this from time to time about his kind of like, I guess, 5-year plan. Maybe he's got a couple kids that are still in school. And once they get out of school, then they're thinking that once they have the empty nest syndrome locked in, that they're thinking about moving outside of the borders of the continental United States as well. And inspired partly by what I'm doing, inspired partly by a lot of conversations.
There's another John. That's another John, just like your name, that lives in Dominican Republic. That's a veteran. That's how I found Victor, because he interviewed him. Go look at that podcast of him.
Yeah. Yep. I remember the episode. I don't think I was there when he interviewed him. Yeah.
Yeah, but I watched that because I've followed John some of this stuff, and I said, oh, and then I listened to Victor. I was like, I want him to interview me, and then that's what it happened. So, and that's how we are here today.
Yeah, it's a small world. It's just like the warrant officer mafia. It's a very small, like, it's mind-bogglingly small.
I miss it. Maybe we know some people because we got out around the same time and we see W3. So, it's
Oh, yeah.
And you said you got out of Georgia. I do know a few warrant officers there that were in the Signal. Yeah. That I met them, in different locations, but I know they ended up there and retired there. So we'll probably talk about it after this podcast.
Yeah, a ton of Signal folks in Georgia, especially around Augusta. They just got done doing the TechNet there for those who are interested in tech things and Signal things. They just did the TechNet down in Augusta. It's every August. Big Signal community there. Lots of warrant officers there. Lots and lots of warrant officers. But yeah, I actually retired out of Atlanta, out of a little tiny little base in Atlanta. One of the last bases that Tyler Perry did not buy. So little tiny little base there with the reserve unit, and then did my out processing in Augusta. But yeah, small.
Well, what did that inspire you? Small. I know you were interviewing me. What inspired you to go to Italy? That's where you're at, right?
Yeah. So I met my wife about 7 or 8 years ago. We just kind of been dating back and forth and conversing back and forth. She came to the States. I've come here a couple times, and we already knew that we were going to get married either way. Previously divorced and now remarried. But as soon as I came here the very first time, after meeting her, because I'd never been here before that, and I realized, because I've been to California a few times, I've been to the East Coast, West, I've been all over the United States. I've been down to Puerto Rico. I lived in Germany for 13 years. So I've lived in Europe for quite a long time before. And when I got here and I realized, like, oh, there's mountains and the sea, and it's like 20 kilometers apart. It's really, really close. Like, you can stand in any part of the city pretty much if there's no buildings in the way, and you can look in one direction and see the volcano and the mountains, and you can turn around and look at the other direction and see the sea. Oh, for me, that's the perfect confluence of a place. I mean, granted, a lot of people wouldn't want to live under a volcano, but I don't mind. It's not too bad. It's an active volcano, so that makes it better because it's constantly like erupting. Whereas if it was dormant for 20 or 50 years and then exploded, then you would have Mount St. Helens all over again. But the confluence of the sea and the mountains together, where I can get up in the morning, go for a swim in the sea. The temperature is like 95 degrees, and then I can go up into the mountains in that afternoon and possibly see snow. Is pretty wild to me. So that, the food, the cost of living here, and I say all that, but I don't want anybody else to move here because I like the island the way it is.
You don't want it to get too big, too full.
We don't need it. We have McDonald's and KFC. That's it. We don't need anything else. No Starbucks, none of that. But yeah, it's and like I said, the one of the huge reasons was literally the cost of living here. Like once I discovered the place, once I met my wife and came here and spent some time here with her, and we've traveled all over the island as well. And once you see that the cost of living here is just so incredibly cheap, at least from my perspective. I mean, I don't know about anybody else, but um, and the same way with Dominican Republic, certain islands in the Caribbean, down in South America, there's a lot of places you can still go, which are relatively cheap and relatively safe. It just makes sense. Like, I don't know of any place in the United States outside of like a little rural town in the middle of, Missouri, maybe. And
Yes.
even then, the prices are still expensive, like everywhere in the States, all across the whole entire continental United States, including Hawaii and Alaska, especially. The price of everything is just exponential now. It's too much for me to afford.
Right. No, and you can enjoy it without the stress because you can still have a good quality of life, knowing that you're gonna be able to pay for it and not like, what about this? Can I do this or can I do that? Right. So
Right.
yeah, and that's our thought process for us as well. I told my husband, I was like, let's not stress about this. Let's try to just minimize, pay the things that we need to pay, buy the things that we need to buy, but we're planning it. We're not just like forced out. Nobody's forcing us out. It's a
Right.
conscious decision that we're making. And my son is not on board. He's 17. He's in high school, and he having the life of his life. And he's like, "Are you crazy? I'm never moving there. I'm an American." And that's a process. And I'm pretty sure we're not going to be the only ones. So we're trying to to like we're gonna take him to have a nice time
Mhm.
and slowly planting the seed that this could happen. Because
Yeah.
I'm not living without my son. I don't care if he's 19 or 20. Things are too uncertain right now here. And I think family structure and protection still matters, even if he's 20, in my opinion. I'm not living without my son. He said he's not leaving. So this is a process, and I want to document all of it.
Yeah. Yeah, that was another thing that I was going to ask you about, as far as like, is everybody on board? And then would you want to then move out of the country? Are you planning on staying here, or I say
So
here in America?
So okay. So we were thinking that regardless, we wanted to move in 2 years when my son was finished with high school, right? But that
Mhm.
means an adult. He can make his own choices. My daughter she'll still be in high school and she will have 2 years left. And she said she's okay, that she would like the experience to have 2 years, which is not normal for a teenager to say. And I don't know what she will feel in 2 years from now. Um, it would be ideal if they both can finish, but we want it to be 2 years with my son because he's the most close-minded about the process. So we would like to all move down there eventually, hopefully when he finished high school. So now he's in 11th grade, so he has one more year, and that's when we would like to do it. But at that point, we want to have two houses fully paid for, and if nothing, if we don't get to do that, then they'll both be rented out long term, not short term. And I already have a property management down there that's already managing the first property. But yeah, we do want to go because I think it's healthy for them to learn other cultures, to see there's other things outside of the US. It's just going to make them more worldly. That doesn't mean they're not going to be able to come back. That doesn't mean that we don't love the US. That doesn't mean we're not going to be able to be here. It's just good to see other perspective and have a different kind of lifestyle, slow down a little. And they have universities there that take actually the GI Bill
Hmm.
if it is US accredited. So they will be able to do that. My husband and I, we both transfer our post 9/11 to both of them. So they have that. Here they have, because we both 100% and I'm from here, they're able to use the school in here as well. So there's different choices. It's not do all be all, or we're gonna just be there, we're just gonna be here. But the goal is to eventually go there and slowly but surely uh, get them into the idea. And I tell him, of course, son, if you don't want to go, you don't have to go. But that's not the the goal. The goal is that he can also go.
Yeah, I think it also maybe consciously or unconsciously checks a big box, because you had mentioned family, and you would like your son to stay living with you, even if he's 19 or 20, and that keeping that family unit intact. And that's something that I experience here a lot in Italy is the family unit is very, very strong. And like just that afternoon, we have family lunch or dinner on Sunday, every single Sunday, whether it's here, whether it's at her parents' house or somewhere else. We always have family lunch, family dinner every single Sunday. So the family unit, I think that kind of maybe checks a really huge box for you as far as what you're looking for and maybe what you've rediscovered through self-reflection about keeping that family fully intact. I want to ask you kind of a strange question as far as relocating and restructuring and transitioning again into another lifestyle. Have you looked at any of the drawbacks? Like, what are the downsides to any of that you might be concerned with, that might be on your mind?
Okay, yeah. So the place that we decided to settle or decided to buy, it was not our first place. So we did look. I looked at the center of Dominican Republic, which is the mountains area. It's called Jarabacoa. So we looked there, which I loved because they had the rivers, they had the mountains. You can get a really, really nice climate. It's as high. They have mountains up there up to like in Colorado, just from the ocean. It's really high. It's very impressive. So the reason I didn't want to settle there because of the transportation, the infrastructure from the ground to go to the actual city or the town up there. I didn't think it was safe. It didn't have the signalizations, the visuals, the lighting, the rails. So I didn't think it was safe in that aspect. Once you're up there, is good. But that was not the problem. The problem is from getting to there. Then we also went to the north coast of the Dominican Republic, which also has the oceans and the mountains, as you have it over there in Italy. You can go to the mountains, you have the oceans. It's awesome. Hurricanes don't hit strong on that side of the island ever. Never have that area ever been touched hard for a hurricane, even though it's the island. I don't know if it's because of how the mountains surround us.
Yeah, then block the winds and the currents.
Right. So we considered that one, but then for me, the infrastructure wasn't there. It felt isolated. So then we went to Punta Cana, which a lot of people say is very touristy, but
I've heard of it.
It's more of a infrastructure in the schools. The communities are there, the roads. You can see that even the areas that are not fully built have room for expansion, where the other places I didn't see that. Even if they wanted to build it, where? Because the city's already built. I didn't think of it. And because it's so big, there's the place that I'm really looking to buy. They just built a brand new school, pre-K to 12, and it's one of the best schools in the island. They have it in the capital of Santo Domingo, and they brought it here to that area, and they're going to build 18,000 houses there. They've already built a very good portion. They've been building for 5 years. So there I could see them growing because it's so big that they're going to be other expats that they already have there. Other Dominicans like ourselves, like me, that decided to go back. So their families speak English, but they also speak Spanish. And you can still have a little bit of both. And it's so close to the US, and it's only 2-hour flight. And the airport is 15 minutes. So you have the infrastructure, the hospital, the school, the airport. You have the beach. You have people will visit you. So if people that are here, it wouldn't be weird for them to go there and they meet their friends, or you invite people over. Hey, you can go to the beach. So kind of like that. And the cost of living, you can basically buy a brand new house and not pay the taxes that they have for 15 years. Or the transfer taxes. So they're very friendly for foreigners to buy properties down there right now as well.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was looking at it while you were speaking, the different places in the Dominican Republic and the different parts of the region.
Places that I told you Jarabacoa is the center with the mountains. Yeah. And then the North Coast have both. And then Punta Cana has the beach, the ocean, whatever. But I went there, and I'll tell you, the last month when I came back, I was so sad when I was because I slept really good for some reason. I just went and I slept so good. It was 4 days. And then this time around, my husband said, because my husband sent me, by the way, he stayed working here And I just went, we did everything together. He bought everything, and then I just went and did the deal. And he didn't have to be there to sign because of the way the process that they did the paperwork. I was able to sign, and it was good. And I didn't have to have a power of attorney, even though you could have it. I didn't have to have one. So that's pretty interesting, the things that you can or cannot do in a different country that people just don't know about it. So that's the goal. And yeah, that was the thought process, John. So let's see how it's gonna pan out. It might work, it might not work, it might just change our minds in the middle of it. That's why it's called Living in DR Guide. I didn't say Punta Cana because we could switch.
It could. It could very well. Yeah, no, that's great. That's amazing. I'm really happy that you've found that new path after the new path after the new path.
Yeah.
And that you've, yeah. Well, I mean, like you said, it's a process, and it's a process of a lot of learning. And it seems like, just from our short interaction here, short hour and a half, that you're very much into the learning process. You mentioned it a few times, is diving deep into Facebook ads and how to do video and how to do YouTube and all kinds of other things. So it seems like you're deep into the learning process, and that's kind of what really excites you. And this is another one of those learning processes that it just really just dovetails nicely off of doing real estate for a while, and understanding the real estate market. Because if you understand the real estate market in one place, you pretty much understand the real estate market globally, right? It's very nuanced. There's some little differences here and there, taxes and property, whatever, how things are made, but it's basically the same exact thing. Like the same thing here, trying to buy a house in Italy right now. Myself, we're literally in the process, and it's very, very similar. A lot of similarities. You just have to meet the right people, talk to the right people, get the right people who understand what you're trying to do, who understand your situation. And then, which I'm very happy as well that the people there in the Miami area and South Florida area have you, and I can see why they picked you as like top 10 in the area because you just have that kind of presence to be able to understand where people are at and meet them where they're at, and help the people who don't normally get the help because it's not a military community. It's a lot of Italians down there, but it's definitely not a military community in Miami. Not so much. So
they do have retirees. They're just so scattered because it's so big. South Florida is so big, but people don't know where we're at. It's a thing. No, thank you so much, John. I really appreciate it. And you just say something about me that I didn't even know, that I just love to learning and the teachings.
That's how we learn. We learn through conversations. This
Yeah.
goes back tens of millions of years. That's how we've learned and developed as humans over a long period of time. Yeah, it's been great talking with you. I hope that some of this information in this episode is helping somebody out. I hope we delivered on the thumbnail and the title and got you exactly what you expected when you clicked on it, or if you clicked on Spotify to listen to it on there. I hope we are delivering what you were expecting. If you're looking for anything to find us, you can find us here on the YouTube space. This is our primary space. We're on all the podcast channels. We have the Facebook group, Military Retirement Group. Vic's got a YouTube channel, the Green Logbook. You check that out. Is there anywhere where you want us to point people to come find you if they want to come connect with you or start a conversation?
Well, John, thank you for saying that. But you can find me at Doral Homes by Betty Gonzalez in all of the channels: YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. But if you want to know how to move and living in the Dominican Republic, living in DR Guide, then you can also find me like that in Living in DR Guide in YouTube, even though there's no videos there, but I'm going to upload them pretty soon, and as well as Instagram and Facebook. No LinkedIn yet. Just those three for now.
Yeah, I really want to pull up this channel, but I can't seem to find it. So
Living in DR Guide.
With or without the G?
GUIDE. Living in DR Guide. All together on YouTube or Instagram. It's just so new. I just built it right before I left. And now I want to do the videos. Like I literally got here yesterday, and now I have the footage that I need. me signing, doing the stuff. I just bought the house. I'm gonna do that.
Nice, nice. Well, how about this? Once you get the link, just shoot it to us and shoot it to me in a text message or an email, and I can add it to the video
Oh yeah,
in
sure.
the show notes so that everybody can find you. Or we could put it in a pin if you want to drop it in a comment afterwards. You can do that as well,
Yeah.
and I can just pin the comment either way.
Yeah, sure. No, thank you so much, John. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. Now I have a new friend and a new tribe.
Absolutely. Yeah. Anytime you need to reach out, let us know if there's anything, any way we could help. That's what we're here for. We're here to help. So,
All righty. Well, thank you, John.
all right. Thank you very much. Well, that's it, folks. Appreciate you sticking around. If you watched this video all the way to the end, or if you listened all the way to the end, we really appreciate your support. Thank you for all the comments that people have been leaving lately in the last couple of weeks. I've been answering a lot of comments and having a lot of conversations with people. But that's all we got for now. Have a great, safe rest of your week, starting tomorrow, hopefully Monday. Well, Monday's tomorrow's a holiday, right? Starting Tuesday. Have a great rest of your week, and we will talk to you again soon. Out here.